Hey friends, it's Andy. Welcome to our new show, Accelerate Expresso. Look, I know you're busy, and it's hard to keep up with all 6 of the great episodes we publish each week. So, with this show, Accelerate Expresso, we're going to deliver highlights from each episode from the previous week. And in the process, give you short, delicious shots of insight from a show you might have missed, and to help amp you up for the coming week. Now, before we jump into it, please remember to visit iTunes or Google Play or wherever you listen to subscribe to this podcast. And while you're there, leave a review, please, for Accelerate. We need your feedback to ensure that we keep delivering the high levels of value you expect. Okay, let's Expresso.
Hi, this is Alec Paul, Andy's son, filling in for him while he finishes out his vacation. Welcome to Expresso. Let's get started. On Monday, on episode 540, John Rossman, author of The Amazon Way, talks with Andy.
First is you want to build true customer empathy. Like, you actually need to understand, like, what are they going through? What are they trying to solve? What's important to them, both personally as well as from a business. And it also entails understanding your customer broader than exactly where your product or service inserts, right? And so it's, look upstream, look downstream, and understand them. And design things that are designed not because of your organization structure or, what you want to do, but truly build things from the customer backwards. And that's the best way to both build product as well as to manage your business is, from the customer's perspective.
On Tuesday, episode 541, Andy talks with David J.P. Fisher, D-Fish, keynote speaker and author of Hype Connected Selling. They address the hybridization of sales.
Well, so I do think that we're going to see a lot of if a sales process truly is linear, if it's relatively simple, if it's easy to understand, I think we're going to see that going to technology. The growth of Amazon is a great example, right?
Sure.
People don't necessarily, there's no shoe salesman really anymore. There's Zappos.com. I think you're still going to see the very complex sales processes. We're talking the multi-million-dollar long sales cycle, B2B stuff is still going to be the realm of really well-trained, highly skilled salespeople. I think somewhere in the middle, you'll see first a stratification to those two, but there's still going to be some stuff in the middle where you're going to have salespeople that have to be able to acknowledge that a buyer has already started their journey. They've already got a bunch of information, but then they have to figure out how they can be the person that helps take that customer the rest of the way. An example I would use is, selling a home. If you're a real estate agent, I don't think real estate agents are going away anytime soon. But as opposed to 20, 30 years ago, somebody didn't have a ton of information. Now I can walk in, if I want to buy a home, I've done the MLS searches, I've got Zillow.com, results, I've got all this information. And so in those roles, I think for the salesperson to be successful, the more they can, it goes back to what we were just saying, focus on relationships, focus on becoming a trusted advisor, becoming the person who helps the person not, understand how to make a good decision, right? Not only based on the information, but maybe helps them through the decision-making process because they don't do it a lot. I think that's what we're going to see. And that's kind of what I talk about, those hybridized roles where we see, again, I shouldn't say low end, but a kind of on this one end of the spectrum where people are just going to buy online because they can get the information. They can feel comfortable making that choice. You can see the really hot, top shelf, expensive, long sales cycles still have those one type of salesperson, and you're going to have those hybrid roles in between.
On Wednesday, episode 542, Drew Neisser, founder and CEO of Renegade, a leading marketing agency. Drew talks about storytelling with Andy, and he lists several key elements of a memorable story.
And here's the fundamental issue is that the stories that we remember, the stories that we like, have elements of conflict and a narrative that actually has some moments of surprise, and you connect with them on a very visceral level, right? There was an inciting incident. So Luke Skywalker's step-parents or uncle, they die, right? So suddenly he's essentially an orphan. He has to go out into the world. That's the inciting incident. And then it goes from there. And there's surprise after surprise. The interesting thing when it comes to brand storytelling is they basically think that brand storytelling is, here's my product, it's terrific. Don't you love it? No conflict, no surprise. And oh, by the way, you're not the frickin' hero. And so, the brands that get it, and there's a couple, I wrote an article and did a podcast with Manny Rodriguez of UC Health. He totally gets the storytelling and created some beautiful videos of people that have gone through very traumatic and have wonderful stories. And each one has a surprise. You don't see what's coming. And it's not about UC Health. It's about this individual and how they overcame an obstacle. That's storytelling. So now you say, okay, what's that have to do with sales guys? Well, let's assume for a moment that the story is infused with a purpose that why this company exists, right? And if it's UC Health and the purpose is to, obviously help people's lives and celebrate the success of people's lives and let them get on with it, then you as the salesperson have to figure out, how does that story fit with my personal story? And so that's the interesting part of this, is when a brand does it well and they have an epic story, if you will, with some inherent conflict. And so the salesperson can then find a piece of that story. And often, by the way, it's like the founder story, right? The founder did this because that was the inciting incident. And if that founder story is really important and really clear, the salesperson can internalize that and get off and go do their thing and say, they're still an individual. They found their own way of telling that story, often in something that happened to them, but the story is parallel.
Thursday, episode 543, Andy speaks with Katie Bullard, Chief Growth Officer at Discover.org.
The salespeople who are going to be most efficient are those who listen. Now, they now have more avenues to listen, right? They're going to be the ones who really understand and connect emotionally to the person on the other end of the phone. And again, there are now other channels and other places to connect with those people, but those fundamentals are still the same fundamentals.
Well, I agree. I've recently came up with a new acronym, at least new for me, to sort of summarize. I think it's sort of the 4 categories of behaviors that really drive success. And I think they're eternal to some degree in sales, which is, my acronym is BALD, like BALD, which is B is be present, being focused, be there for the buyer. 2, ask great questions. L is listen without judgment. And D is deliver value on every touch.
I love it.
And I think if people can do that, master these, and there's some subcategories within those, but in general, if you master those 4 categories, you're never going to go wrong.
100%. I love that.
Oh, good.
And bald is such a visual,
And on Friday, as always, Andy sits down with Bridget Gleason, VP of Sales for Loge.io, and talks about the halo effect.
Yeah, and I guess for me also is I'm guilty of being enamored and putting this halo effect on people or departments or companies because they've got, they've had good performance at some point in time. And it's, there's things that they've done well, but this doesn't mean that everybody there has been responsible. So I'm the one who tends to put a halo on. So it was good for me to just catch myself in that.
So that's it, friends. Another excellent week of Accelerate, the world's best sales podcast. Please take 30 seconds right now. Go to iTunes, subscribe, leave a review. I personally want to know what I can do to make this an even more valuable resource for you. For our regular listeners, I'll see you bright and early Monday morning. For everyone else, we'll see you again back here next week. Until then, I'm your host, Andy Paul. Good selling, everyone.